The other day I made a video talking about 10 hunters that I'd like to see come to Star Wars Hunters post-launch, and in that I promised I'd do a video about 10 maps. So in today's video I'll be going over 10 prequel maps that I would like to see added into Star Wars Hunters. Now before I do get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on to never miss a piece of Star Wars Hunters content. Now given that this video is focused on the prequels, I will be doing the same video for other film trilogies as well as TV shows, and no doubt more, so there will be plenty of these types of videos to come in the future. But without wasting any more time, I'm going to start off with the Phantom Menace, and given that we do already have some maps for Mos Espa, with one of those maps even having a pod race going on at the same time, I'd say that the 3 maps that I'd like to see from this film honestly all lie on Naboo. They're all very different from each other, which I think can be a really powerful thing. So the first map has to be inspired by Theed. We've already got quite a few urban maps from Tatooine, so seeing urban maps from other planets I think would be a great thing for the game, and Theed is obviously very different in its architecture, so it would look really nice. You could also then have a destroyed AAT or even MTT in certain places, B1 battle droid remnants scattered about, and I just think it would be such a great map. Just outside of Theed then we of course have the Naboo Plains, in which there was a battle fought between the droids and the Gungans, so a map based on this would be absolutely amazing. It would obviously be a lot more grassy and fairly open compared to other maps, but again for cover you could have the destroyed droids, along with stuff used by the Gungans, and even the stone heads of the Naboo Elders as well would be awesome to see, so it'd almost be a bit like the original Battlefront game with the Naboo Plains map, but if that is still too open you could almost have it like some sort of sacred temple or something, just to give it a little bit more cover. Now finally for the Phantom Menace, as cool as it would be to see the reactor room where Maul, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fought, I would honestly prefer to see a map based on Oto Gunga, because it's just such an interesting looking place, and I think there's so much more you could do with this city as opposed to the reactor room. Plus you could also make it look like you're potentially actually underwater, where instead of just looking up and seeing the blank sky of Vespara, it could be a domed arena instead, which is just full of digital screens which makes it look like you're actually in that planet. Next of course is Attack of the Clones, where I have 1 map from Kamino and 2 maps from Geonosis. The Kamino map I think is pretty damn obvious, and that is naturally a map inspired by Topoka City. I think this map should absolutely have a blend of bright white interiors of the cloning complex, but then it should also have exterior parts of the map where we actually get to experience the rain, thunder and lightning and the darkness that we typically see with Kamino, and that would contrast really nicely with the interiors, and overall I just think it would be an incredible map, so fingers crossed that we do actually get it at some point, as it was my favourite map in Star Wars Battlefront 2. I think that had a really nice blend between the interiors and exterior of Kamino, so something like that for Hunters would be great. And then for the first map of Geonosis, I think it naturally has to be the Petronarchy Arena. This is obviously an iconic arena setting for Star Wars, and given that Hunters is an arena shooter, there is no better suited location for this game. Outside of the arena though, you do then have the Stalgassin Hive and the vast desert plains of Geonosis that obviously held a huge battle, so I think that would be a great map to have as well. Sure, it could just be the same old orange rock, but there is a lot they can do with this, from Republic command centers to destroyed vehicles, rock formations, Geonosian tunnels perhaps as well. Personally I think it worked really well in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and obviously Star Wars Hunters will have a much smaller map than what was in Battlefront, but they could still make something work, and I think that would be a huge amount of fun. Now the last 4 maps in this video are for Revenge of the Sith. Now I decided to give this film the 4 map allocation because there is simply a lot more going on with this film with different locations as opposed to the other 2 films. So the first map for Revenge of the Sith that I'd like to see is a map inspired by the interior of the Invisible Hand, so General Grievous's capital ship at the start of the film. I think there's a lot they could do with this, with the ships and stuff in the hangar, to the viewing room that Palpatine was in, and then to the bridge where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought Grievous and the Magna Guards. I know that's obviously quite a lot to get into a fairly small map, but if they do bring Escort back into the game, then that's something that could work really well for that, but we will just have to wait and see. Following on from that, the next map we should absolutely see is one inspired by Pal City on Utapau, where Obi-Wan defeats General Grievous. Pal City is definitely one of the more unique places in the prequel films in my opinion, so seeing it in Hunters would be something that should absolutely happen, though I expect that's something that will probably come a little bit later. The next one is another obvious one for me, and that is Koshiro beach from Kashyyyk. This map could include Wookiee huts, debris from the battle, and potentially a Wookiee catamaran that flies overhead with Wookiees screaming out of it, and that could happen every now and then just like the pod racers do in the Mos Espa pod race map. Finally, for today's video, I would absolutely love to see a map inspired by the Mustafar refinery. It's one of the most iconic places in Star Wars given its significance to the story, and it's vastly different to anything else that we've seen in a Star Wars game probably since 2005 honestly with the OG Battlefront 2, so I think this is an absolute must. Now I know a lot of you are probably thinking why the hell did I not add anything like Coruscant given that it's in all 3 movies, but like I said at the start of the video, I'm going to be doing these kind of videos for all of the other film trilogies, along with TV shows like The Bad Batch, Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, and all the live action ones as well of course. And Coruscant, especially in the Clone Wars, features very heavily, so I will likely talk about Coruscant maps in those videos. But anyway guys, let me know what you think about my 10 ideas for maps from the prequels in the comments below. Next time I do a video like this, it will be on the original trilogy, so do stay tuned for that. That is it from me today though, thank you all very much for watching, and may the force be with you always.